My name is Rachel and I'm the Youth Engagement Officer here in the Diocese of Bristol, and my job is about listening to the voice of young people and making sure that young people's voices are heard in all decision making processes. And I'm joined with Adam. Adam, tell us a little bit about who you are and why this is a conversation that you're involved in.
Hi, I'm Adam. I'm Associate Archdeacon in the Diocese, which means I have a job working across the whole diocese to support parishes and ministers and people in congregations to flourish and be the best churches they can possibly be. Personally, I'm also involved in our children, young people and families strategy work, and I'm also on the Board of Education, so I've got a real heart for young people and how that pans out in the life of the diocese.
We wanted to create a little update video to tell you a bit about what's happened as a result of our first Youth Echo. The first Youth Echo was all around the topic of safe spaces, and we had 108 young people share with us their thoughts around what makes spaces safe, what's important to them. And we've taken some steps and are on a journey of continuing to do that as a result of the insight that we've gained. And I guess I wanted to ask Adam a little bit about what that's looked like, what we have done and are continuing to do as a result of the insight that we gained from your voices. So Adam, the first question I have for you is, what shocked you most or did you find most interesting about what came out of our first Youth Echo?
So I was really encouraged by the responses I saw. Actually, I thought there was some really good news in there, not just because we were getting, to hear young people's voices front and centre, but actually that young people do see churches as safe places, and places where they can be themselves, places where they want to be accepted for who they are, in a way where they can talk about the big things about their lives. And I think sometimes it takes a little bit of bravery to ask questions, because we often think we're going to get criticism back, and sometimes that's really important to hear that. But I felt in the whole that it was really good to hear the things that we can work on and capitalise on to be even better at what we're doing as a diocese.
Great. As a result of Echo, I worked with a sense-making group, I guess, to come up with some questions that we thought the findings were almost leading us to. And we took some of those questions to some people.
Mm-hmm.
Where did we take these questions? What does that mean? What does it look like? What happened? Tell us all.
So they went to a couple of places. The biggest place, I suppose, the most number of people, was something called Diocesan Synod. Now, the Diocesan Synod is a big meeting where they talk about the strategy and make decisions for what goes on across the whole diocese. And there are 2 bishops there, and there are about, I think it's 58 clergy and 62 people who, don't wear dog collars, but that represent the churches from right across every corner of the diocese. And they got to hear the things that you guys had said and the questions that have been developed from that, and got to discuss those questions a bit. And I think the really important thing from that for me was it raised the profile of young people's voices at a meeting where I'm ashamed to say historically they've maybe not heard so well, or only heard secondhand. Bringing that into the centre of the meeting was probably the biggest win about this first round of the process.
Great. And I guess the next question is, so what has the next steps since the first Youth Echo looked like? What's been going on with us at Diocesan Support Services, and what are the next steps long term, do you think?
Well, I think there's always more we can do, and I think the big win was getting this first round to happen, to get so many people involved, and to get so many people hearing the things you've said. And I don't know where a lot of that has gone. Different churches have been asked those questions, what they've gone away, what they've thought about. That's a hard thing for me to measure. But I can tell you some of the things that it's done for me and affected me in my role, and particularly in trying to make sure that the voice is in future synods right there in the middle. We're going to make sure there's a space for that every time. I'm part of the bishop's staff, and we have meetings every month, and we're going to make sure going forward that we have a slot on those meetings, again every time we meet to make sure we're considering the concerns of children, young people and families in any way we can as we make decisions about the future of what's going on. So for me, hard to say kind of, what might have happened in your youth group, or, might be nothing, might be something, but, the bigger picture of this is we're kind of breaking down those barriers a little bit more, and for me that's been a great step forward.
Great. And I think to encourage you guys, this conversation isn't over. The stuff that we have learned and the insight that was gained through the process of Youth Echo is forming, I guess, our next steps in how we continue to build strategy with our under 18s work and ensure that young people's voices are being heard in those decisions. And I know for me personally in my job, as a result of some of the stuff that's come out, I am in the process of creating like a local level listening kit to help you feel listened to and accepted in your local churches, because we recognise from the findings of Echo that is really important to you guys. So we're kind of creating the framework to help churches do those things really well.
I suppose there's one thing I'd like to mention as well is we're so grateful for you having joined in so far, but we want you to continue doing that. We want to ask you some more stuff because it's really important for us to hear, and in particular at the moment you may well have heard that our current bishop is retiring, and so there's a whole big process around how we get a new bishop, and hopefully you've seen on socials and other places that we want to hear your voice on that. So please do take part in, it's called the Vacancy in C Committee, more long words, but if you want to have a say on that, if you want to say, well, what's important to me about a bishop and the way a diocese is led, then there's the opportunity on that.
Yeah, so some next steps that would be really helpful for us here is to hear about how you guys have found the process of Youth Echo. I've sent with this video a Microsoft Forms to your youth workers. It will take you no more than 5 minutes, but what we want to know is whether you feel that this has been a process where you feel listened to and responded to, and if not, what we can be doing better, because we want this to be shaped by you and we want it to be valuable. We want to make sure that you guys know that your voices are valuable and that they are being listened to and responded to here in diocesan support services, as well as across the diocese in local churches and schools. But we're really grateful for the time that you have put into this and for sharing honestly what matters to you, what's important. And we want you to know that your voices are making a difference. I've noticed even a difference in the way that we ensure that young people's voices are being profiled in conversations where previously that wouldn't have been the case. So that's super encouraging to me, and I want that to be an encouragement to you, that your voices are important and they matter.
And so thank you so much for what you've done. Thank you for helping out in the future if you can as well. And we're praying for you, we care about you, we want you to be at the heart of what we're doing as you grow in your own faith and in the life of the church as well. So thanks so much.